think I'm spooky.
Be afraid. Be very afraid. What have you done to his eyes?
Good evening and welcome to Soft and Spooky. For today's video, we are going to be looking at the 2025 horror, thriller, dark comedy called Companion. This film was definitely a surprise for me and I am so excited to give my thoughts. If you haven't seen my movie review videos before, basically the first portion is spoiler free, so if you were still considering going to see this movie, you can get my thoughts without it being spoiled. And then the second portion is going to be filled with my spoiler-filled thoughts, and that's kind of going more in depth into my review. Rest assured though, before I go into the spoilers, I'll give plenty of heads up so you're not blindsided. And yeah, with that being said, let's sink our teeth in. I'm so excited to talk about this with you. Okay, so Drew Hancock directed Companion, and when I looked at his IMDb, it seems like he veers more towards comedy films, and I found that in Companion, that kind of comedic flair is definitely present here. As with so many horror releases nowadays, just don't watch the trailer. I mean, don't talk about it with people, don't look it up online, just pretend that it doesn't exist, because I feel now like the less I know, the better. There are definitely some interesting misdirections that you can see in the trailer, but overall, I don't think it's worth having some very key points spoiled for you, so I ultimately feel like it's better to go into this with no context. It has a good cast, good writing, and overall, it's a good time. I can delve a little bit more into the cast. So basically, we have Jack Quaid, who is very popular from The Boys, as well as he was in the 5th installment of the Scream franchise. Jack Quaid portrays Josh in this film, and I think he just does a really good job at creating a realistic and humorous character, but in this specific instance, it's both of those things with a lot more to his character than meets the eye. His comedic deliveries really got me, and I feel like the writing for this film succeeds at creating these darkly comedic moments. As our lead, we have Iris, who is played by Sophie Thatcher. Some of her more notable credits are Yellow Jackets, Maxine, and Heretic, and it just seems like she's really popping off right now, and for good reason. Her portrayal of Iris in this film really shows like her stretching her capabilities with acting, and I think that she did a really great job at creating this fun and interesting character. Also, this has nothing to do with her character or the movie, but I love her hair. I've seen like these press junkets of like her styling her hair like she normally does, and it's got this like real rocker vibe, or kind of looks like a mullet almost, and I love it. Speaking of haircuts, I got one too. Do you like it? Tell me you like it.
Did you think that was good? Tell me I'm good. Tell me it was good. Tell me I'm good.
Some other characters we have in the film, we have Patrick, who is played by Lucas Gage, and it's really unfortunate that the main thing I associate him with, he played a character that liked to get on in the 4th season of You. And yeah, that's the main thing I think about him with. I will say he does seem like an absolute sweetheart in real life. There was this clip that went viral where I guess he was auditioning for something and it was over like a Zoom call or something. And I guess the casting director didn't realize that their mic wasn't muted, and yeah, here's the clip.
These poor people live in these tiny apartments. Like, I'm looking at his, background, and he's got his TV and
Yeah, mute it. I know it's a apartment. That's why give me this job so I can get a better one.
I don't know. I think he handled that with a lot of grace, and he just seems like a really likable person. So it was nice to see him in a different role. I think that his portrayal of Patrick in the film, as well as his emotional connection with his partner Eli, it was the heart of the film. And I think that I really enjoyed their writing together. That being said, I do kind of have some mixed feelings about the direction that they decided to go with his character. I kind of felt like they could have pushed the boundaries a little bit more, but I can't really delve too much into that in this section, but if you're curious, stay until the end. Speaking of Patrick's partner Eli, he is portrayed by Harvey Guillen. He is just the apple of my eye. Harv, can I call you Harv? I know you're not watching this probably, but you are a breath of fresh air. I love seeing this man in everything he's been in, and I want to see him so much more. In this film, he is just effortlessly hilarious, and he has such an expressive face that makes him feel like a real person. Like, he reminds me of people I actually know in my life. So he's just so fantastic. I first saw him in the show What We Do in the Shadows, and what's kind of cool is I read this article with Movie Dweeb where apparently he did some of the stunts himself in What We Do in the Shadows, and I just have a tremendous respect for that. Like, I love seeing actors kind of push themselves out of their comfort zone and really commit to the character, so I love him. I think the reason that these characters feel so realistic and believable is that the interpersonal relationships feel very organically written, and the dialogue just feels like what friends, how they would communicate with each other. For instance, in a negative light, there was one scene that physically pained me. So basically, Josh is in a relationship with our main character, Iris, and they are going out to meet, like, have a get together with his friends, and it's at this, like, millionaire's mansion. They're all at the dinner table, and Patrick and Eli talk about their first time meeting and their love story, essentially. And Iris decides to chime in, and she's talking about how much she loves Josh and all this stuff. She kind of trails off, and it gets really, like, awkward and quiet. I didn't think that I'd be getting flashbacks to, like, I've been in that situation where I'm with people that I come to find out really secretly do not like me. It's just such a distinct feeling, getting that realization that, like, you're not with people that you can relate to. And I think that they portrayed that painfully well. Overall, I think that Companion portrays a pretty important message with a really great subtlety and a great sense of humor that makes it really fun to watch. Throughout the film, there were several twists and turns that I wasn't expecting, and it made it very entertaining and exciting to watch, especially too because it was only, I think, an hour 37 runtime, but it didn't feel rushed. But it also felt like it kept that pacing going and kept me excited and interested. I'm not sure that I would put this in my favorite movie of the year, especially because we're just starting out the year and I don't know what to expect. But I definitely would put this maybe in my top 10, maybe even top 5, just because it was a really fun watch. So that just about does it for my spoiler-free thoughts. If you were interested in seeing this film, feel free to click out now. But before you go, definitely consider giving this video a thumbs up to help me in the algorithm. And if you're feeling frisky, maybe even a subscription. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into spoilers in 3, 2, 1, spoilers. I wanted to mention this in my spoiler-free section, but I didn't want to scare away any new viewers with personal stuff, so fingers crossed, I hope it's okay. I'm going to get a little personal here. I ended up seeing Companion in theaters on a weeknight, and I feel like that played a really big part for me. I'm not going to lie, life has felt a little monotonous. I mean, I get up, I go to my 9 to 5, I get some groceries, I cook dinner, watch a show while I eat, and go to bed, rinse, repeat. And it just feels like getting a little sad here, dude. And so it was really interesting. I saw this one video not too long ago, and I've seen it like a couple of times, various people talking about this, where So many of us are waiting for the weekend, and that is only 2 days out of the week. So when you think about it, like the majority of our week is wasted because we don't want to do anything on work nights. But then you think deeper about it, and we work the majority of our lives. So even though I was exhausted and it was cold and rainy that day and I had work the next day, I still went to the movies, and I cannot recommend it enough. So yeah, that definitely might have skewed my impression of the film, but overall, I really love seeing this. I personally think that the standout aspects were the actors as well as the dialogue that they were given. They felt like living, breathing characters and people that I personally know, and I felt like that was really effective with creating that connection to the characters. It's also kind of ironic because, big spoiler, woo woo woo, 2 of these characters are robots. I wish that I didn't know that going in. I actually had that point kind of spoiled by one of my coworkers. It kind of crushed me. It almost seems as though, like when my coworker mentioned it, it just sort of seemed casual, like, oh yes, this is a known fact that that character is a robot. But it almost seemed like the movie set it up for it to kind of be a reveal. And so it was such a bummer. Like, Thankfully, there are some other twists in the film, so it's not like you're totally missing out if you knew that. But yeah, I kind of wish that it would have been more of a reveal for me. The plot revolves around Josh, who purchases an AI robot as his companion, even though I think we know what the main feature is. There's even a funny line that I think Eli says where we find out that Josh has actually modded Iris's software, and he says, "Did you jailbreak your sex bot?" And yeah, that's a good one. With some of Josh's modifications, he basically has orchestrated the environment for Iris to kill his friend Kat's millionaire boyfriend so that he can steal the money. After the millionaire boyfriend Sergey is killed, Iris ends up escaping, and she is now able to control her own settings. In this one scene, she goes through her language settings when she's talking to this one cop, and she portrays it pretty convincingly. Like, they felt like very natural dialect and inflections, and yeah, it sounded good. She also increases her intelligence from what Josh set it to, like 40%, to 100%. And we can see this showcased where she tries to get into Josh's self-driving car, and when she voice commands it to start driving, it doesn't recognize her voice because it's usually Josh. And so what she does is she modifies her tone and pitch of her voice so that it can match Josh's, and then she gets the car to go. And I felt like that was such a creative idea, and it made sense in this world that we've already built with the film. So I love that. I think that if I hadn't, making a lot of mouth noises, buddy. I think that if I hadn't known, you're messing with me, dude. I think if I hadn't known that Iris was a robot, there were definitely a few scenes that would have confused me in a good way. There's a scene where Josh and Iris have gone to Kat's boyfriend's mansion, and she meets them at the door, and she just seems to ignore Iris completely. She almost seems like oblivious to the fact that Iris is there. And I think that this is really a great way to kind of showcase that a lot of us are kind of oblivious to how impacted our lives are with technology nowadays. In the film, Josh has a self-driving car. He even, when he's brushing his teeth, he has an electric toothbrush that he doesn't even move around. He just lets it sit in his mouth. And when all of them are together, they even have this electric or electronic wine cork puller thing. They don't even uncork their own wine. Looking in the real world context of this, I think that that's a legitimate fear for our society, and we're kind of halfway there. AI software like ChatGPT has definitely become a crutch for some people, myself included. And I think that it does serve a purpose for the mundane, like creating grocery lists for specific dietary restrictions or monetary restrictions, and creating these kind of boring email responses. Like, I think that that does serve a purpose. But I think where it scares me is taking away essential human actions and human creativity. I would think that it would be difficult for a robot to imitate my life with my distinct memories and experiences, and I don't need any help on that. I'm all the way good on that. Another terrifying thought is towards the end of the film, Josh reduces Iris's intelligence all the way down to 0 and forces her to shoot herself in the head. These tech people that work with the robots come to retrieve her, and they say, thankfully, all of her data is actually stored in her stomach, so they'll be able to analyze the footage and see where her software went wrong. Instantly, Josh is dubious at the idea that it's been recording, and the tech person replies with, well, didn't you read the terms and conditions? It was in there. And I think that is like a funny way to also express something that is kind of terrifying, where I think a lot of people aren't going through the numerous pages of the terms and conditions when we agree to using a cell phone or, various other tech things. And yeah, maybe we should be paying closer attention. I think that the characters presented in this film are very well acted as well as scripted, and I think that the humor was very effortlessly woven in without feeling distracting. I think a really brilliant transition into humor is the one scene that shows Patrick and Eli's meet cute scenario. So basically, Patrick is also a robot. I don't think I mentioned that, but yeah, he's a robot. And all of them are pre-programmed. They're a set number that you can choose from of these scenarios on how they met their user, this like fabricated memory of how they fell in love. And so Eli chose for Patrick that they're at this Halloween party. He's dressed as a vampire, and then Eli is dressed as a dinosaur. And Patrick is like getting some dip, and he realizes that he's stepping on Eli's costume, and they take the head off of the dinosaur and they lock eyes, and that's how they fall in love. What's kind of interesting is that after Eli unfortunately passes, that killed me in the theater, but after Eli passes away, Josh decides to take over as Patrick's user so that he can send him to hunt down Iris when she escapes. In order to form that user connection so that he can boss Patrick around, he has to go through the same steps and have this fabricated memory also programmed in. And so it was just really funny to see the exact same scenario, but now with Jack Quaid's character, Josh. And I think that it was really good with like the music choice and the abruptness of it all. I think that they really succeeded in the humor in this film. I think, honestly, the one big gripe that I have with the film is that I think the script could have pushed the boundaries a lot more with Patrick's character when Josh sets him to full aggression. I felt like they could have done a lot more outrageous kills or really amped up this aggression, because at full aggression, I feel like there's a lot more that they could have done with this character, but he doesn't really rack up that big of a body count. It also didn't really make sense to me that when Patrick is set to full aggression and his mission is to kill Iris, he traps her, and then he realizes that the gun is out of bullets. But then he pauses when she starts talking to him about how Eli was actually his real user, his companion, and not Josh, and that Josh is just using him. Would he really, if he were set to full aggression and his mission that was stated by his user was to kill Iris, would he really stop and listen to her? I don't think so. I think that he would just start beating her with a gun or something. I don't know. I didn't find that believable. I do think that the most fun part of this film was the final kill. And if you have any shred of interest in going to see this, click out of the video now, or you're getting a knuckle sandwich.
Pow, right in the kisser.
Okay, you've been warned. So throughout this film, there have been these various close-ups on the electronic corkscrew. And I had inklings, I had my suspicions, but then I also thought like maybe it's just aesthetic shots that they're doing close-ups of this machine that they're using. But oh no, that was Chekhov's gun, because that thing was coming back. So Josh has Iris pinned down and he is about to shoot her in the stomach where all of that data is stored. And then she pops in, grabs the corkscrew and jams it right to his temple. And you see it like corkscrewing out all these little bits of gooey brain matter. Exquisite. It was just so satisfying and exactly what Josh's character deserved. He was just such a dirty little scumbag. And so I was really happy to see that. For me personally, I think what sets this film apart from other AI films is that it doesn't take that traditional cliche of like, ooh, technology's bad, AI is scary. Instead, it's just Iris was programmed the way that she was supposed to, and she didn't deviate or anything. It wasn't like she went rogue. She did what she was supposed to. And I feel like, at least what I'm interpreting, is that the movie focuses more on the human misuse of technology, and that's what the scary part is. I think for me personally, I'm more concerned with the idea that I become so reliant on AI or technology that I can't form an original thought, and instead, my words are just a regurgitation of a million other people's words. And that is terrifying to me. But yeah, that just about does it for my spoiler-filled thoughts on Companion. Have you seen this film yet? Let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. If you enjoyed this review, definitely leave this video a thumbs up so I know, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Almost 1,000, baby! I also wanted to add a few comments that I have received on some recent videos from subscribers. You all have left some really wholesome things in my comment sections, and it's just, wow, it really means the world to me, and it genuinely motivates me to keep going. And yeah, I just wanted to share my appreciation, because I know you don't have to comment anything, and the fact that you made the time to say something sweet, I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. And with that, I will see you all in the next video. Don't forget to stay soft and spooky.